Thank you for listening to the Mini Book Podcast. Today, we're looking at some really interesting excerpts from David R. Hawkins' book, Letting Go, The Pathway of Surrender.
Yeah, this is fascinating stuff. It tackles a question I think everyone grapples with. Why doesn't happiness, stick around?
Right. Why is it so fleeting?
And the core idea in these excerpts is that we're all carrying around this huge, often hidden collection of negative stuff. Feelings, attitudes, beliefs.
Accumulated over time.
Exactly. And the book argues this inner baggage, this reservoir of negativity, is actually the root cause of a lot of our unhappiness or ongoing problems, even physical illness.
Things we might just shrug off as, oh, that's just the human condition.
But Hawkins suggests it's not just something we have to passively accept. He proposes there's a surprisingly simple method to deal with it.
A way to get clarity and actually move past these problems.
Yes, the mechanism of surrender, or as the title says, letting go.
So that's our mission for this deep dive then. To really unpack the key insights from this material, we want to explore how this idea, this practice of letting go of negative emotions could potentially transform, your inner world, your health, relationships, your whole experience.
Okay, let's get into it. The sources really emphasize how much energy we humans spend just trying to avoid inner pain. Running from our fears, trying to dodge that potential feeling of misery that seems to lurk underneath.
It makes sense we'd avoid it. The book says we become afraid of our own feelings.
Because they contain so much negativity, right?
Yeah.
We worry we'll just be overwhelmed if we actually face them.
And without a conscious way to handle them.
They just pile up. The fear itself makes it worse. And a crucial point the source makes is, it's not usually the thoughts that hurt.
Not the facts of a situation.
No, it's the feeling attached to the thought. The raw thought itself. Pretty neutral usually. Painless even.
Okay, that's a key distinction. And then there's this idea about how memory works. It's not logical.
Not primarily, according to this material. Thoughts apparently get filed away based on the feeling associated with them, like the emotional tag.
So feelings are the index system for our memories.
Got it. Which is why the book argues you can get way more self-awareness much faster by focusing on the feelings rather than chasing down every single thought. One feeling can be tied to, thousands of thoughts.
So deal with the feeling and you deal with the whole cluster of related thoughts indirectly.
That's the idea. Get to the root. And it's not just negative feelings we push down, is it?
No, the source mentions even positive feelings like love can get suppressed because of social conditioning.
Which can apparently cause its own problems. The book even suggests things like physical issues or maybe distorted expressions of affection, like pouring it all into pets, could stem from blocked positive feelings.
That's quite a claim.
It is. The underlying principle seems to be that any blocked emotional energy builds pressure, negative or positive.
And when that internal pressure gets too high?
The mind finds a way to vent it. It sort of projects it outwards, creates situations out there that mirror the inner state, allowing that energy to be expressed or experienced externally.
Oh, wow. So if you're full of inner fear,
you might unconsciously attract or precipitate frightening experiences. Or if you're simmering with anger,
you keep running into things that make you furious.
Exactly. The prideful person who feels constantly slighted. It's like that old saying the book quotes about seeing the speck in your brother's eye but missing the log in your own. We project our inner world onto the outer.
So we're basically setting the stage based on our inner feelings and then reacting to the play as if we had nothing to do with writing it.
That sums it up pretty well. And this ties directly into the mind-body connection Hawkins talks about.
The idea that the body follows the mind's lead.
Yeah, essentially. The body tends to manifest what the mind believes, consciously or unconsciously. The source states we're only subject to what we hold in mind. The power anything external has over us is the power we give it through our belief.
There are some striking examples in the material, like the placebo study with the women in early periods.
Right. They got saline, but believed it was a hormone, and their bodies reacted as if it were the hormone.
Or the hypnosis examples, like developing an allergy reaction to an artificial rose just because of suggestion.
It really highlights the mind's influence. The source also touches on concepts like an energy body, which sounds a bit esoteric, but connects it to how thoughts and intentions can directly impact our physical state.
And emotions themselves are framed as energy, as vibrations.
Everything vibrates. Higher vibration equals more power, more life energy.
And our emotional state creates vibrations that affect our body's energy field. The book mentions Kirlian photography showing aura changes.
But the real practical demonstration it leans on is kinesiology, Muscle testing.
Ah, yes, the muscle test, where your muscles literally go weak when exposed to something negative.
Instantly. Negative stimuli, weird foods, jarring music, violent stuff, but especially a negative thought or feeling. It creates an immediate energy drop, a physical weakness.
And positive things strengthen you just as quickly.
Exactly. The source presents this as pretty solid empirical evidence of how our inner state tangibly affects our physical energy.
Which then leads into Hawkins' scale of consciousness, this idea that different emotions have different energy levels or calibrations.
Yeah, it's like an energetic map of human emotions. Down at the bottom, you have states like shame, guilt, very low energy, very little power.
Then moving up through things like apathy, grief, fear, desire, anger, pride. The energy increases, but it's still generally draining or based on lack.
Right. And the crucial turning point on this scale, according to Hawkins, is level 200. Courage.
That's the threshold to the more positive state.
Yes. Above courage, you get into neutrality, willingness, acceptance, reason, and then the really high states like love, joy, peace, enlightenment.
And these higher levels aren't just about feeling good.
No, the source clearly links them to increased effectiveness in life.
Yeah.
More success, things happening more effortlessly, a greater capacity for life itself. And it suggests everything has an energy calibration reflecting its truth. People operating at higher levels actually kind of transmit positive energy.
Okay, so if we're weighed down by these low energy feelings and we want to climb that scale towards courage and beyond, how? What's the actual technique?
This is the core letting go mechanism. And it's described as incredibly simple.
Like almost too simple.
Maybe. It's about allowing a feeling to just be there, without judging it, without resisting it, without trying to change it, suppress it, vent it, or escape from it.
Just let it be.
Let it be there.
Yeah.
And consciously let go of wanting it to be different. You let go of trying to do anything about it.
So you're not analyzing the why. You're not digging into the past.
Not necessarily. The idea is that by simply allowing the feeling's energy to be present, without adding more energy through resistance or judgment, it naturally runs its course and dissolves. You're undoing the feeling itself.
And the book stresses this isn't some formal meditation you need special time for.
Right. It's designed to be used right in the middle of daily life, whenever a feeling comes up. No dogma, no belief system needed. You just try it and see for yourself if it works. The proof is in the experience.
Okay, so what happens when you actually do this? What are the results the material describes?
Well, the most immediate thing is moving up that scale of consciousness we talked about, as you release the drag of negative feelings.
You naturally float upwards towards courage, acceptance, love.
Exactly. And that brings more personal power, more effectiveness. Life feels less like a constant battle.
It also talks about healing the past, right? The emotional baggage from old stuff.
Unresolved feelings from past crises keep us stuck. Letting go allows that trapped energy to finally process and release.
Which might involve seeing those past events completely differently.
Often, yes. A shift in perspective. The source frames crises not just as bad things, but as huge opportunities. Opportunities for awareness, for reevaluation, to choose forgiveness over hate, learning over resentment. Every feeling is presented as a choice point. Move up the scale or down.
And it's not just about ditching the negative. There's a flip side, letting the positive in.
Precisely. Letting go of your resistance to positive feelings allows them to surface.
Like the example of feeling resentful about buying a gift.
Yeah, you let go of the resentment, the resistance to being generous. And you discover the generosity, maybe forgiveness, was there all along, just covered up. It's about uncovering what the book calls your inner greatness. Courage, love, acceptance, compassion, letting go of negativity and choosing love benefits us most.
How does this compare to something like, say, psychotherapy?
The source suggests letting go can often be faster and more freeing for consciousness itself. Psychotherapy often focuses heavily on the why, the story, the past. Letting go targets the emotional energy, the what right now. The why often just becomes obvious later once the feeling is gone. And the impact on relationships sounds potentially massive.
If you're not carrying around anger, judgment, blame, the need to control.
Imagine that. The book describes relationships based on acceptance, openness, real connection. You're not defensive because there's nothing to defend. You accept their humanity, your humanity. Passing negative moods are just passing clouds, not relationship enders, because the underlying connection is to acceptance or love.
But what if you feel totally stuck, like in apathy, where even trying to let go feels impossible?
Good question. The source tackles that directly. Apathy, that I can't feeling, is often reframed as I won't. It's resistance.
So you apply the technique to the resistance itself.
Yes. You notice the feeling of apathy or doubt or helplessness about the technique, and you let that feeling be there. You let go of resisting the resistance. Yeah. And crucially, you also consciously let go of any resistance you might have to positive feelings emerging, like willingness or hope or just wanting to feel better. This combination helps break the logjam. You find the willingness was there, just buried under the apathy.
That makes sense. It connects to reclaiming power too, doesn't it? We give our power away.
We do. We project it onto people, situations, fate. Letting go is about taking that power back, realizing the choice is always yours in how you respond internally.
And achieving goals, it can happen more easily.
That's the claim. By letting go of the desperate wanting, the frantic desire, and all the anxiety that comes with it. Remember the story of the guy who got the job?
Yeah, he wanted it desperately, got nowhere. Then he finally let go of the wanting, just surrendered it.
And the job offer came within 24 hours. It challenges that whole cultural idea that things only count if you struggle and suffer for them. Maybe effortless achievement is a sign you're actually aligned with higher energy.
The source calls that belief a peculiar perversion.
It does. Now, perhaps the most radical claim is about physical healing.
Right. The idea that letting go of inner states, fears, beliefs, conflicts can lead to the body healing itself.
Automatically, the book suggests, it gives specific examples. A pilonidal cyst disappearing after 2 years of applying the technique. A blocked eustachian tube clearing up. Even things like dandruff and athlete's foot resolving when the belief about catching them was surrendered.
Wow. And acute things too, like injuries healing faster.
A broken foot healing remarkably quickly. A sprained ankle pain vanishing in minutes just by letting go of the pain and the fear around it.
And that story about vision, healing vision by seeing with the mind, not just the eyes.
Yes, the woman born visually impaired who started regaining sight partly through consciously feeling she was seeing with her mind, letting go of limitations, alongside her medical care. It underscores the mind's role. It all comes back to that power of the inner state. Like the power of love we touched on.
The psychiatrist anecdote is really powerful. The patient locked in fear.
Yeah, talk therapy wasn't working.
Yeah.
So the psychiatrist stopped trying to fix her, just consciously surrendered that need, and instead just sent her love.
Yeah.
Held her in that intention.
And she improved without any big intellectual insight, just from the energy.
Just from being held in that loving space, apparently. Which also relates to the idea of the power of company.
Being around people who are already embodying the states you want.
Exactly. Hanging out with winners, the source calls it, or getting it by osmosis. Their higher energy can lift yours.
And the flip side, being around people stuck in the same negativity can keep you stuck too.
Yes, reinforcing the pattern. Yeah. Like the example of the divorced women's group where focusing on bitterness just kept everyone mired in it.
So as you keep doing this, letting go consistently, you start moving beyond the everyday struggles.
That's the trajectory. Transcending the limits of the small self, the ego that thrives on negativity, self-pity, victimhood.
Pride, for example, being a defense against inadequacy that actually attracts attack. Defensiveness invites attack.
Letting go of that neediness brings inner security. And as you keep surrendering, you discover something deeper, something constant within you, beyond the personality.
The inner self, or awareness, a silent, peaceful core.
Identifying with that, instead of the turbulent thoughts and feelings, is presented as the key to lasting peace, regardless of what's happening outside.
And synchronicity becomes more common, meaningful coincidences.
Yeah, the book suggests it just starts happening more, like Jung talked about, the example of the executive
whose anger and fear vanished, and at that exact moment, the employee he was upset with changed their mind.
Right, suggesting the executive's inner shift was the real cause, not some external randomness. He took back the power he'd projected. Ultimately, this path leads towards the highest states on that scale, unconditional love and peace, with acceptance being the doorway.
Unconditional love, calibrating at 540, is described as this incredibly powerful transformative state. Rare, but achievable.
And in those states, negativity just doesn't really register anymore. Life unfolds through synchronicity. Effortlessly.
The book even mentions a final run, which sounds very spiritual.
Deep surrender. Letting go of wanting to control reality itself, dissolving the illusion of separateness, becoming one with everything. The dissolution of the individual into the universal.
Wow. Quite a journey mapped out. From dealing with everyday annoyances to merging with the infinite.
It really is. And the source circles back to practical tips, too.
Like noticing the hidden payoffs of negative feelings, the juice you get from being angry or self-pitying.
Yeah, and letting that go, too. Remembering feelings, aren't you? Ignoring the mind's rationalizations for the feeling.
Just keep the intention steady. Surrender the feeling.
And if you hit resistance, if
Yeah.
you doubt it, that's just another feeling or belief to apply the technique to. Let go of the doubt. Clarify the intention for freedom.
It also mentioned how letting go helps affirmations work better.
Because you clear out the internal yeah, but objections first.
And for relationships,
Yeah.
accept differences, have humor about it all, let go of blame and control. Even letting others help you is seen as generous.
Allowing shared experience.
Okay, so wrapping up our look at these excerpts from Letting Go. The core message seems to be the incredible, almost untapped power in simply letting go. Letting go of that heavy burden of negative feelings and all the ways we resist our own experience.
It's presented as this very direct path to inner clarity, to a better life, maybe even physical healing, and definitely spiritual growth towards peace and love, discovering that true self underneath it all.
It really does make you think differently about negative emotions. Instead of citing them or running from them,
Just allow them. Let them be. Let them pass. The Source makes that bold claim, doesn't it? That all pain and suffering comes purely from the ego, from holding on to these inner programs.
which leads us to a final thought for you, the listener, to consider. Given the Source's idea that all our pain arises from the ego and these inner programs, what's just one belief or one recurring feeling that you might choose to simply let go of today? Just as an experiment. Just to see what happens.